Hey, what's up guys? Welcome back to another video. So today, changing up the pace a little bit, and I'm going to work on the daily. So we're going to be changing the pads and the rotors on the ILX front and rear. Changing the oil too. I'm not sure if I'm going to throw that in this video, but I might as well. But anyway, I already have the car jacked up in the rear. So first thing I'm going to do is take off the 5 lug nuts, get the wheel off. So once the wheel's off, we're going to take off this e-brake cable. So there's two 12s right here in the back, and then right here you just want to take some needle nose pliers, and you should be able to flex this down and pop the cable off. Next up, we're just going to take out this set screw that holds the rotor in place. Most people use impact screwdriver. You basically put this on here, make sure it's going to the left, and hit the edge with a hammer. I never have luck with this tool, so I usually just pop the front of it off and just stick it on the impact gun and then slowly loosen that up. So once you have that screw out, you're going to come back over here to the caliper. You'll see a 12 here and one right here. Loosen those two up, and then you should be able to slide the caliper back, kind of rest it up or get like a metal coat hanger and just put it through here and hook it onto the shock, because you don't want this dangling and put stress on the brake line, which is right back here. So once you have the pads out, you're going to come right back here. There's a 14mm bolt right here on the caliper bracket, and there's a 14 right here. Just take those two out, the caliper bracket will slide off, and then you can slide the rotor off since you already took out the set screw. Alright, so once you have the bracket off, pull out these pins right here. This isn't necessary, but I'll always do this when I change any pads or rotors. So basically you're going to get the pin out. There's this little rubber bushing. You hold it by the bottom and pull the whole thing out, and then pull the rubber off the top of the bolt. I use brake clean to clean this off. Spray a little bit down in here, and then I'll re-lubricate it with some red grease. They sell brake grease, but I've always had good luck with this one. I use this in the track car. So I'm going to clean these up, get these re-lubed, and then disassemble it back together. Put the rubber piece on first, just kind of squeeze it in there, and then just push this back down in there, and then the top part of this rubber bushing will slide right over that lip. Once you have the pins lubed up and pushed back in, they should be super springy. They should come back by themselves, because you don't want the pins to actually get seized in here, because that's nine times out of 10 moisture gets inside of here and it rusts the pin in place, so the caliper doesn't function properly. But once it's popping back and forth like this, you'll be good. And you want to take the rotor and put it on. These ones are actually labeled where they go at. When you put this screw back in, put a little bit of anti-seize on there. You'll be happy you did that next time you have to change the rotors. So now I'm just going to put the caliper bracket back in with the two 14s on the back. So the next part's an optional step. Some pads come with new clips, some don't. But if you got new clips, you might as well change them. I usually just take some needle nose pliers, stick those in here, pull those out. And then there's one right in here in the caliper that you can usually just pop out with a needle nose. It's usually a little bit easier to do it with two hands. So I'll get that one out when I use two hands. But the new clips, they just pop right into place once you get everything lined up. So I'm going to put the clips in, and then next we'll get the piston back in. So the piston's right here. Unlike the front, you just can't squeeze it back in. This has to turn and get pushed at the same time. So you want to go to the auto parts store and get one of these little cube tools and just figure out which pattern fits on the ones that you have. For mine, it's going to be the one with the 4 grooves. So basically, I'm going to use an impact gun. Just put this on here and tighten it up. You want it to go almost flush, but you do not want the rubber boot to come over the piston. So once you have the piston back in, you want to get ready to put the pads in. I usually just take a little bit of that grease and put it right here on the sliding areas to make it a little bit easier for the pads to slide in and out. It's not necessary. So these are the two pads. Just edge right here with the little radius in it, that goes towards the center of the rotor here. So the one that's all flat goes in the front, and the one with the little I guess the brake wear indicator goes in the back. So you just pop those in. So once you have the pads in, you just want to make sure that this flat part is butt up against there on both sides, and you're just going to take the caliper and wiggle this back into place. Sometimes the slide pins get in the way, but don't forget those can press in some. So once you have those in, you're going to put the 212s back on. You might need to wiggle this a little bit to get them back on. It's a lot easier to do this with two hands. So I'm going to get this one, and then we'll work on getting the bracket back on and the e-brake cable. Alright, so now that you have the caliper back on and tightened down, you got to get this rear e-brake bracket back on. So this had the 212s in it, so we're going to put that on first, and then we'll move on to put the cable back on, same way you took it off. Just grab it with some needle nose pliers, and you should just be able to flex it back down and click it on. Now that the e-brake cable's back on, I like to clean the rotor last because my hands are always filthy. So I'm just going to use some brake clean this down, put the wheels back on, just hand tighten the wheels until the car's back on the ground, and then I tighten them to 80 foot-pounds. So then after that, the rear is done, and we'll move on to getting the front done. So moving along to the front, the only thing I did was remove the wheel. So we're going to take out our set screw that holds the rotor, and we're going to come back here. We got a 14 right here and one right here, and that'll allow you to remove the caliper. What I did was I set the caliper right here on this control arm, that way you don't have to zip tie it up. So I'm gonna get those off, and then we'll continue moving on. Set screws removed, caliper's off, sitting on that control arm. So once you come to the pads, you'll have this metal spring clip. You just squeeze that in, and that'll come out. And then just rock the pads out. It's trash. Rock that one out. Trash. Then you come back here, you'll have a 17 here and one right here. Just loosen those up, caliper brackets off. So just like with the rears, we're going to pop the pins out. We're going to clean those with brake clean, re-lubricate them, spray in here with the brake clean, get some of that old grease out. One thing to note on the caliper brackets, one of these has like a black plastic tip. I don't know if that makes a difference what side it goes in, but I'm going to keep it with the side that it came out, which is this side. So I'm going to clean those, re-lube those. Alright, so I'll put the new rotor back on, set screws already in, caliper brackets lubed up just like before. Want it to be springy like that. Don't mind the idiot neighbor, he just got a motorcycle. So 217s back on, and then we'll swap out the clips on this. So the bracket's back on, I swapped out the clips, and the pads are on. With these clips, just make sure right in here that these snap into place. If not, it'll be really hard to get the pad in. So now that those are on, I'm going to show you how to compress this piston on this caliper. I have the old brake pad sitting against the piston, and I got this tool that you could pick up from AutoZone or Advanced Auto Parts. It's like 10 bucks, probably cheaper at Harbor Freight. So basically, as you crank this down, it threads out and it'll press against the pad, which will cause this to go in. You can also use a C-clamp with the same method, but you'll have one edge of the clamp here and one on the back. I find this one a lot easier. So I can't do this with one hand, but I'm going to crank this down until it's almost flat in here again. I'll show you what it looks like once I get done. Alright, so that's about the point that you want to crank it down to. So before you put the caliper on, don't forget to put this clip on. Then you just slide the caliper over and put in the 214s. One thing to add, when you're tightening up this 14 for this caliper to go back on, you may need a open end wrench just to hold this bolt right here. So it looks pretty good. I don't know, it's 99% sure it's not going to stay like that. The hat's going to rust, and it's going to rust around the top where the brake pad doesn't hit. But since we're out here doing maintenance, I guess I'll change the oil too, even though it says I got 50% life left. But I really don't trust this 6,000 mile between oil change crap. So basically, if you come down underneath the car, you're going to have to loosen a Phillips head here. There's probably one that's supposed to be here, here, and here, and this panel will come down. So for this one, you have some flat heads. It's a 90-degree turn, 90-degree turn here, and then the back one you have these really big clips. I usually just use this pry tool to get those off, and then you can slide this metal panel back, and that'll drop, and then you'll be able to see the oil pan right there. The filter's under this one. Alright, so this is where the plastic panel was. Oil filter's right up in here. And then over here you'll see the exhaust manifold. If you follow that right back, right over here is the drain plug. So I'm going to crack that loose first, put in a little pan here and drain that oil, and then we'll get the filter off. They say change this oil every 6,000 miles. This is 3,000. Look how dark the oil is already. And I don't really beat up on this car, so this is why I change it every 3,000 miles. Alright, so I got the oil drain plug back in. So I'm going to work on getting this out. If I remember correctly, I just hand tighten this in. So hopefully I don't need to go get one of those little cups that go around this to loosen it up. So I have a brand new factory filter on. When you do change the oil filter, it's always good to lubricate the rubber ring with some of the old oil. And just hand tighten this on, because once the engine heats up and the rubber piece on there, it'll get tighter. So now that everything down here is done, I'm just going to wipe up any oil residue. Now that everything's done on the bottom of the car, I'm going to fill the oil up. It takes 0.20, it's 4.5 quarts. I'm using this funnel that I got from Dual Overhead Cam Will on Instagram. It's 3D printed, and it screws into the threads for the oil cap, so you really don't spill anything. So I'm going to fill this up with 4.5 quarts. I'll put the cap back on. I'm going to start the car and let it run. In the meantime, I'm going to go around with my torque wrench and torque all the lugs down to 84 foot-pounds. And once that's done, I'll turn the car off and then check the oil, make sure it's topped off to the proper level once I give it time to settle back down. So everything's all wrapped up, and it's perfect amount of time because it's starting to rain. So I know this isn't normally one of the videos that I would do, but I'm trying to reach out to a broader audience, just help as many people out as I can. But if you have any questions or you need any links to where I got everything from, just let me know. I paid I think $125 for all 4 rotors and the pads, and the oil change, I think it was $32 with the filter. So I hope you guys enjoy. Until next time, like, comment, subscribe, and I'll catch you guys in the next one. Back at you with the realness.